I'd like to call this special meeting of the Board of Education to order. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education is on Tuesday, March 24th at 7:30 p.m. Today is Wednesday, March 11th. To start, I'll go through the chairperson's report. Just one item to note, last night we had the hearing for the Board of Finance on our budget, which was a testament to the team over here that prepared the budget, very short and sweet. We will have a vote on April 7th by the Board of Finance on the budget. So we'll report back once we get through that. Next, I'll go to public comment.
Good evening. If anyone would like to participate in public comment, please approach the podium and wait to be recognized. Once recognized, please state your name and town of residence and note that you have up to 3 minutes to comment. We have no public comment.
Superintendent's report.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the March 11th Board of Education meeting. March is Board of Education Appreciation Month, and I'd like to take a moment to publicly recognize and thank the 9 dedicated members of the Darien Board of Education for their unwavering commitment to our schools. Serving on a Board of Education is a demanding volunteer role that requires a significant investment of time, energy, and heart. Our board members are more than just policymakers. They are champions for our students and stewards of our community's highest values. Their leadership ensures that the Darien Public Schools remains a place where every student can achieve academic excellence and personal growth. On behalf of our faculty, staff, and students, I extend my deepest gratitude to our board members. Thank you for your tireless service and for your partnership in shaping the future of Darien. So joining us now to perform a song in your honor, please welcome the Fantastic Four. The DHS a cappella quartet features Dara Hallinan, Dylan Mejia, William Raskoff, and Hugh Winiger. Thank you all for being here this evening.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, we're the Fantastic Four. Hope you guys enjoy. Our first song is Wait Till the Sun Shines Now. On a Sunday morn, sat a maid forlorn, with her sweetheart by her side. Through the window pane, she looked at the rain. We must stay home, Joe, she cried. There's a picnic too at the Old Point View. It's a shame it rained today. But the boys drew near, kissed the way steer, and she heard him softly say, wait till the sun shines heavy. When the clouds go drifting by, we will be happy, Nellie. Don't you cry down Lover's Lane. We'll wander, sweethearts, you and I. Wait till the sun shines, Nellie. Yes, I hope you can hear me now. Now we'll be singing a little slower song called Ebb Tide. Tide rushes in, plants a kiss on the shore, then rolls out to sea, and the sea is very still once more. So I rush to your side like the oncoming tide, with one burning fire. Will your
Thank you very much. And thank you again to our members of the Board of Education. And congratulations to the Darien High School student artists, CJ Corial, James Powell, Natalie Tracy, and Andrea Sutanto for being recognized for their outstanding creativity and technical skill in the 2026 Scholastic Art Awards, one of the nation's most prestigious programs honoring student achievement in the visual arts. Selected works will be featured as part of the 2026 Connecticut Scholastic Art Awards exhibition and awards celebration. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thanks, Eric. That was awesome. Fantastic. Love the name. Thanks for setting that up. We are up next. Ryan, why don't you take us away with the student representative report?
Yeah, so tonight our girls hockey team has their state final at M&T Bank Arena. I believe the puck dropped only a couple minutes ago, so excited to see how that will turn out. Hoping for a big win there. Last night, our seniors had their 100 days till graduation dinner. I heard that there was a magician who also did a lot of mentalist games, so a lot of students did very much enjoy that and were very shocked by many of the tricks that he had. From March 19th to the 21st, our Theater 308 production is The Lightning Thief, and if anyone is encouraged to go watch or wants to go see, you can go get tickets at theater308.org. And finally, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, our DHS faculty will be playing the Darien Police Department in a basketball game to support Charlie's Cure for a organization for a student at Hinley and for the Special Olympics for Connecticut.
Thank you. Next up, we've got K-3 literacy update. Dr. Fedigan.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd love to have join us Dr. Falcone, Director of Elementary Education. We have some wonderful staff members we have Christina Ledesma from Holmes. I'm seeing how they take their seats in what order. Christina Ledesma from Holmes, Ann Novotnik, also from Holmes, Bess McNamee from Royal, Arlie Carr Harris from Tokenique, Stacy Johnson from Oxbridge, and Linda Dragata also from Royal Elementary School. And it's wonderful to hear from them tonight some firsthand experience about implementation of our new resource this year, HMH into Reading. And we're gonna start tonight by talking about some professional learning opportunities that have happened, including some professional learning opportunities with the Board of Education, with the Board Learning Walks. At the end of the presentation, at the end of all the slides, you'll notice there's an appendix section. And what we did there was include some of the documents that the board has seen before, but we think are really important for you to be able to put your eyes on quickly just for reference. And one of those is just the graphic that talks about kind of how we got here, that there was that K-3 right to read legislation, that we engaged in a district study and pilot and program review, and some of our staff here tonight actually were a part of that pilot. And we have the graphic circle that talks about our strategic priorities, which is really our district lift to ensure that we have a pre-K through grade 12 coherent approach to literacy instruction. And then finally, the advisory structure, which is really our in-system architecture for how we're approaching that work, so that we are aligning what's happening at schools, within departments, to the district, and then of course the strategic plan. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Falcone, who's going to talk about some of the professional learning experiences that we've enjoyed so far this year.
Great, thank you. I'll try to make my part brief because these are truly the stars of tonight, and I know you will be so excited to watch some of the instruction come to life. So this year, our focus for professional learning has really remained kind of anchored in our high quality literacy instruction framework, which was developed by a team last year. And we have been continuing to focus all of our early release days on implementation of the various components of HMH, as well as our full days. There has been an emphasis on small group instruction so that we're able to really differentiate the learning experiences for our students. We're focused on backward planning that is grounded in our data, both our HMH data as well as other literacy assessments that we use. And we've been really trying to start building some assessment literacy, which you'll see as an ongoing focus as we go into the next school year. Another piece that has been really impactful is each school has had 3 HMH coaching days, which have been able to be really tailored to meet the needs. The principals have been working with the individual coaches creating the agenda based on what the needs of our teachers are each time they come, and they've really been successful. So I think all in all, it's been a great year of learning for everybody. Additionally, we have a team that has participated in something called the Science of Reading Masterclass with CAPS. It's focused on the 5 areas of reading, and what's fabulous is we're really building our professional capital by having a team of building administrators, our literacy specialists, and as well as a nice team of district administrators as well. So really a comprehensive group to be able to share some of these experiences. And you can see some of the different offerings on the left-hand side there, focused again on the science of reading, which is grounded in those 5 areas of reading. At our next board meeting, this work will really come to life. You have our lovely team of principals that are going to come and really kind of highlight a little bit more deeper into the science of reading, where today we're going to see it in practice. So I think there'll be a nice connection between tonight and the meeting when our principals join you guys. Additionally, we are doing work around with Jen Saravallo, who's a recognized consultant. And what's fabulous is she's started to design some work where she's building small group instruction work that is aligned to our HMH modules. So we're able to really focus on our instructional framework, which really relies on small group instruction, using strategic thinking, but it's grounded in one of our core resource, which obviously is HMH integrating. This work is really going to highlight our work with universal design, making learning more accessible for all of our kids. And it'll follow the UBD framework that, you know, all of our curriculum is designed with. All right, Miss Amy.
So I mentioned before that some of our professional learning extended as well to the Board of Education, and we're super excited about the board learning walks. The first inaugural walk, which was hosted at Oxford Elementary School, and actually Stacy Johnson's class was one of the classes that we visited. And I was so impressed by the really difficult word work that the kids were doing. I happened to see them on my way out and said to the kids, I don't think they got it. Good thing I didn't have socks on today. And they looked confused. And I said, your work was knock your socks off. Like, it was super impressive. They were doing some really sophisticated things. And so she's going to talk a little bit, as well as the rest of our colleagues, about that tonight. But just as a quick reminder, the purpose of a board learning walk is really to provide you all with an opportunity. Now you're hearing tonight directly from our practitioners, but to see firsthand and get you that visibility of what happens in the classroom, and really seeing it all action-packed. And I think some of the board members here tonight happen to be there, and we're, I think, pretty astounded by how technology is used or not, very intentionally, and just the stamina that our staff has as they work through the day to meet the needs of our learners. We look forward to another Board of Education learning walk, which will likely be featuring somewhere our grades 6 through 12. So stay tuned for more details about that. We'll be looking forward to sharing that. During the board learning walk, we did show this instructional framework for high quality literacy instruction, which is a homegrown document, which is really important because we grounded our work in literacy instruction, not in a material that comes in a box. That's critically important. And so this we're very proud of, and we continue to take a look at this with our larger district steering committee, that's a PK-12 group, to make sure that the work continues to evolve and stay aligned. What happens K3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12. So we're very excited about that. And I think the Board of Education, I'm not sure if it was when you were there, Greg, but I know that some members that were there found this resource particularly helpful in identifying what the components of literacy instruction are. I think Mrs. Nelson commented on that during one of the classroom visits that we happened to go to. So tonight you're going to hear a little bit from each of the teachers. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Falcone, and she's going to kind of, with them, walk us through the different components of literacy instruction and bring it to life here in the Board of Education.
Fabulous. All right. So at this point, we'll be turning it over. And again, they're going to give us a little window into the real work of our classrooms in action, and really bring to life the framework that Amy just talked about. And you'll be able to see it all come to life for you here. So let's see, we are going to start off. So again, this is the full picture of kind of that document that Amy was just highlighting. And you'll see that we're gonna pull from each teacher is going to be kind of highlighting a different element of our instructional framework. All right, so our first lovely teacher is Christina Ledesma from home. She's our kindergarten teacher.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I want to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight, as well as Dr. Fedigan and Dr. Falcone. I'm so excited to share a little bit of what kindergarten looks like with this new HMH program. So a little bit about our day. In kindergarten, one of the main components that we focus on is the foundational skills aspect of HMH, which really dives into phonemic awareness, decoding, and the different foundational skills with handwriting and blending. So usually we start on the carpet, as you can see in one of the first pictures, on the carpet with a full group of students. And in my classroom, I have something called a lucky duck, and that is my student helper for the day. And with phonemic awareness, I always like to say that it's so cool because you can do it with your eyes closed, meaning you're not looking at any letters or words on the board. You are just listening to the sounds and manipulating the sounds, blending and segmenting them. So my lucky duck is always so excited to sit alongside me and engage in the different hand motions and really just take ownership of their learning. And the rest of the class on the carpet is just so excited to see their classmate be a role model for the rest of the class, and is just so excited to engage in that listening material. And with phonemic awareness, it really builds the students' alphabetic principle, which is when they are listening to certain sounds and then eventually taking those sounds that they're hearing and then writing it onto paper and making those connections to the letters that they're writing. HMH provides such great resources, and within foundational skills and our encoding practice, there are a lot of different visual and auditory drills where the students have consistent practice with letters and sounds. There are really great interactive word blending drills. So students practice CVC words and different phonics skills explored from the beginning of school all the way until the end of school. And it's a spiral approach. So every time we learn new skills, we review previously taught skills. And another main component of the foundational skills aspect is the encoding, or the spelling and handwriting. So my students always love to practice their newly learned phonics skills on whiteboards. And as you can see on the other two pictures to the middle and to the right, that's just a little snippet of what our classroom looks like when the students are practicing these phonics skills. So if you want to click on the video, just a little snippet of what it looks like as well.
All right, let's tap out chat.
And this is really what it looks like every
Yeah, so as you can see, we're saying a word. Right now, we're focusing on digraphs. So having that ch sound we're really diving into, we say it all together and blend it and segment it. And then the students apply their learning and write it on their whiteboards. And as the teacher, this just serves as some quick feedback where I can just gauge the students' understanding of the phonics skills and provide support and feedback when needed. And again, it also helps them practice their handwriting and just reinforce the phonics skills that we're building. Jen mentioned that we've had such great HMH coaches come into our schools, and our HMH coach pointed out different resources we can access to continue enriching students and supporting them within phonics and within handwriting. And I'm just so happy to see my students so engaged in this process, and I'm just excited to implement it as a second-year teacher and just excited to learn from day to day. So thank you so much.
All right, Ms. Ian.
And thank you again. I'm at second grade at home, so I'm going to talk about foundational skills, more the phonics component of it, taking the great work that's being done in kindergarten and moving it along. And I'm excited to hear, I have to be honest, Christina talks so passionately, because what we haven't seen is, even though I piloted last year, we haven't seen the trajectory of growing up through the program. We haven't seen those children come. I'm listening to her and the students tap out digraphs. I was teaching digraphs at the beginning of last year in second grade. The pacing And the scope and sequence, the one thing that I'm finding is it is really moving it forward in terms of what they're being exposed to and practicing. And it's more matching what we would like them to be reading. 2 years ago, we weren't working on vowel teams or anything that they really needed to be able to decode a second grade appropriate book. They're already doing vowel teams, they've already had suffixes, they're already getting a lot of exposure that is making them more confident as they grow as a reader, and we've seen those gains. In my classroom, foundational skills is a daily part of the day. It's probably one of my favorite. It is the most interactive 25, 30 minutes that you'll find in a primary classroom. The children are engaged. They're happy to be there. Took a while to get routines down and make them work, because if you ever looked at the guidelines in the manual, you'd say they're sitting for 25 minutes. No, they're not sitting for 25 minutes. They're up and down and up and down and in and out and around the room, and they're moving. They take the phonological awareness, as Christina said, they're blending words and segmenting words very quickly every day. They're working on recognizing phonemes and graphemes, both visually, auditorily, and blending. So not only are they seeing the letters with the sounds, then I'm giving sounds, they're providing letters, they're providing letter choices. They love to get me on the sound of J. And we'll play a game of like, write for me the letter or letters that make the sound J. And they'll start with a J and a J, and I'll be like, great, we got it. They go, you forgot, DGE. And they'll just throw it in there. So they're at least becoming really familiar with it. Phonics itself is every day they're learning some kind of phonics skill. And they're constantly practicing, they're constantly reviewing. They're blending words that they know. But once the phonics skill comes in, it might be a vowel team. This week it's on separating syllables and knowing how to divide multisyllabic words so that they can tackle them in their reading. They're quite excited. It's a quick lesson, and then they're back blending words using that. So they're seeing it in isolation. They're seeing it in context, blending. And then eventually we're moving into the encoding, being able to use those graphemes and spell them. The spelling component of it is reinforcing the spelling patterns they've learned, building on as they get new ones. It was eye-opening to realize that every long vowel word didn't just get an E on the end. There's now all these options, and they'll learn to play with them and make the options. They're flexible in their thinking. Every morning we're building words, or the word chaining, which is a favorite of theirs, because I'll give them a word and then I'll be like, I changed my mind. I want this word, and it'll be moving either the beginning, the middle, or the letters. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And to see the confidence in them from looking at the neighbors, just like for a little support, to being like, I own this, I know where to take it off. Our ultimate goal, they're doing dictation. So they're also getting in sentence structure within it. Our goal is eventually, the transfer to their independent writing. But we start with the isolation. They are getting handwriting, and they haven't had handwriting formally in quite some time. But they're getting handwriting every day. They think it's a game. They're copying and writing it, doing 3 times, circling, they're reflecting, circling the best one. They'll turn and talk, telling their neighbor, it needs to come up a little higher, it's got to touch the fence. And they're finding it as an excitement. We call them heart words, the irregular words, the high frequency words. That's part of every day where they're concentrating on 1 or 2, and they're trying different skills strategies rather, to be able to read them, to be able to spell them. And one of the nice features about the way the routines go and the morning goes is we have decodable texts. which they're part of our slide decks that we're doing in high situation. So I might choose to read them one day. I might choose to work on fluency. I might choose to find me the letters that have a long O sound. Find me a multisyllabic. So they're picking it apart. But along with that, the program gives us a whole set of decodable texts where we can use those in small group instruction, and it's targeting the phonics skill that we just introduced. So I'm teaching syllable work right now. Today's small group using those books was syllables so that they get the comfort with it. And it gives, not only reinforcing the phonics skill, but giving them continued practice in a small group as well. So they're seeing that whole piece come together, and, the pictures, are typical. They're tapping, they'll use the words, it's very, using their bodies and things to keep them engaged. They're up at this view board. The little girl is actually scooping the syllables, trying to get it. They love to have a turn to show. They're using whiteboards constantly. They use them for handwriting. They use them for trying to spell out words. They'll do them for a quick check. The letters that make this. And they'll move to the decodable text, which looks like a small group, reading instruction, but it's really based on their phonics and their encoding. So they're going places. So I thank you.
Thank you. All right. Whoops. All right.
Sarah, actually. Oh, no. Oh, you're next up there. Oh, wait, you went too far. Okay, it is me. Okay. I was like, wait, there are those names up there. First, I just to say, Christina, you have no notes. You have this is the age difference here. Like, I feel really old that I have to have all this stuff, and she has nothing. I'm going to be talking to you today about small group instruction. During the literacy block, I meet with small groups in my classroom, and that could be during the reading, it could be during writing, anything, in math as well. I know we're talking about literacy tonight. These groups are based on the student needs, which are determined by assessments or my teacher observations. We do have a targeted planning sheet, which is up there. And I use that sheet to plan my groups every week. It allows me to say, what does this group need in particular, and make sure that I have all of my materials ready as well. The groups could be any of the following, and I know it's small, but they're up there at the top. It could be an intervention group. So that kind of group is a group that maybe has an MTSS goal or even an IEP goal. They need that small group intervention. It could be a reteach group, which that group is almost there. They're almost ready for that next step. It could be a benchmark group, which is on level. And then of course, it could be an enrichment group, which they're ready for more. An example of a small group I did last week when we had our HMH coach in. She was in to coach us on the small group work and give us some tips and tricks. So one of the things that I did is I had a group that needed some reteaching, and they needed reteaching on topic and central idea. And each teacher has these are the tabletop mini lessons. This is also a bigger chart that gets hung up in the classroom, but it's also great that I have it, that I can use it at the table with my kids. In my classroom as well, kids also have it on like it's sort of index card size. And they have that they bring with them to the table when we're doing the skill, because then they can take that and hopefully transfer it. It's in their book box. They can use it when they're independent reading or at home, and they can teach their parents about this that they're learning. And their parents are like, wait, they're learning topic and central idea? Yeah, they really are. So I have my group, and then HMH also has provided us with readers. So the HMH readers, there's plenty of readers, and the skills are in so many books. So I pick a book that's appropriate for that group. I use this teacher guide to plan my group. And then you'll see in here, I have all the Post-its that I'm going to use with that group. That will be questions that I'm going to ask them, or it's guiding our discussion. And then that group will leave. They have this on that little mini. They'll take it, they'll be able to take it home and again, tell their parents what they learned, that day, and reinforces the skill. While I'm with my group, and again, and Jen had it up earlier too, when I'm with my group, the rest of the kids are in literacy centers. And those centers can look very different depending on the needs of the kids in the class. So sometimes it could be a vocabulary center where the vocabulary words from the week are there for the kids and they use those, they try and use it in a sentence, or maybe they're grouping them together. It could also be high frequency words, which again, it could be they need some help reading those words and remembering what those words are, or with the spelling of those words. I always have 2 independent reading groups. So I know there has been some concern sometimes from other teachers about they're not reading enough. Well, when you're doing this, there are reading enough. They're getting that time in and they're in that independent reading twice in the week, plus they're with you. So they are getting that independent reading in. I rotate through different centers, and one of the ones I absolutely love is that I do a STEM center, and I do that during my literacy block because they are reading instructions, they're writing out their plan, they're collaborating, they're higher level thinking, they're working together. So this week, the groups are planning leprechaun traps, which they will be building on Friday to set up for Monday to catch leprechauns, they hope. So the professional development that we've had and the opportunities that we've had in those early release days have really helped us, like as a team, work together on those early release days so that we all are learning from each other. And on the PD days, we're learning. There's so many. One of the things I've always loved about HMH, there's so many resources. And what these PD days do for us is they help us where are those resources, find those resources, what do we do with those resources? So those days have been really invaluable. Thank you so much for your time. And I do invite anybody to come to my room if you ever want to. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Arlie Carr-Harris. I teach first grade at Tokenique, and I'm going to talk a little bit about writing and sort of the structure of what writing looks like in the first grade classroom. So pretty much every time we go into a new module, there's a planning phase, which focuses heavily on oral rehearsal. And that's because it really helps with language development. They have partner work where they bounce their ideas off of each other. So they're practicing their speaking and listening skills, which is also incredibly supportive of our multilingual learners because then they get a chance to do that oral rehearsal piece and hear from others. And it just overall helps with their planning. Once they move from the planning phase into the next phase, they work on a goal setting job. So our current genre has a specific goal of adding detail by describing the characters or the setting, but often goal setting also involves previous grammar skills that have been taught, skills that have been highlighted during the current unit, and then current grammar. And that really supports student independence and targeted growth. It also supports vocab, which is cross-curricular because the vocabulary that we're learning in Reader's Workshop can often be applied to the writing that they're learning since the content is very similar or the topic is very similar. And it just sort of supports that deeper understanding and the ability to use their skills flexibly throughout the day. After that, they sort of move into an editing phase once they're done with their writing. And that connects back to their goals of the unit. And it's a consistent routine that helps check their work and hold them accountable to all the concepts that they're being taught in phonics and in Reader's Workshop. And when I talk about grammar, we've learned sort of that the grammar can be used in various times of the day. And I would say that one of the wonderful things about the HMH planning days is that we've been able to talk to our grade level colleagues and find out how they are using the grammar. And so one of the things that we got to do was collaborate together and talk about how people are using grammar during the morning meeting, or sometimes as a mid-workshop or at the end of the lesson for editing purposes. And so that's just kind of a little bit about writing and sort of what it looks like in first grade. And this is just some student work. And I picked this one specifically because this particular child was really working on editing and making sure that they started sentences with capital letters and ended sentences with punctuation, and that they worked on those specific skills from this unit of describing the setting and the characters. So that's reading.
All right. I'm Stacey Johnson. I teach second grade at Oxbridge. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about vocabulary. I actually really enjoy the vocabulary component of the interreading program. I think my students also really enjoy it. Basically what it is, I introduce about 8 vocabulary words each day. It's part of our daily routine. And these are words that appear in the text that we'll read together during the literacy block. So in the slide on the left, that is one of our vocabulary slides. For each vocabulary word, there are 2 slides. That's the first one we look at. The vocabulary word is nice and big. We read it together, and then we look at the photograph that goes along with it and try to use context clues in the photograph to figure out the meaning of the word. The second slide, I read to them. I read the definition of the word. There's also a sentence using that word. I'll read that as well. And then we talk about parts of speech. Is the word a noun, a verb, an adjective? We'll also talk about if it's a word with more than one meaning, and if it's a multiple meaning word, we'll look back at the photograph and again, use context clues to figure out what is the meaning of the word in this picture. It's a really interactive routine every day. So for each one of these words, I'll have the kids either turn and talk about each word, act it out, or make a connection. For example, yesterday, one of our vocabulary words was display. I had the kids turn and talk about where might you see a display? What sorts of things might you see on display? Today, one of our words was, what was one of our words? I wrote it down. Motion, thank you. And so I said, I had them act it out. I said, if you motioned for someone to come over, show me what it would look like. If you motioned for someone to stop, show me what that would look like. Other times we're making connections. It's also a really nice time to teach kids strategies that they can use in their independent reading. The most difficult word we had today was selfless. Again, we do work on grammar in this program a lot, which is great. So the kids are familiar with the suffix less. So we looked at the word. What does it mean when you put less with self? The photograph was of firefighters. So we had a really great discussion about what does it mean to be selfless? What are these firefighters doing? It just lends itself to really great discussions. And then this is also a strategy the kids can take that and use in their independent reading when they come across words like that have pieces that they know. As I said, these words then appear in the text that we read together. Today, the text that we read, they were reading from their book. It's called My Book, which is the textbook. So they have the story right in front of them, and these vocabulary words are highlighted for them. They get really excited when they see the highlighted word that we were just talking about. Yesterday, it was a read aloud, so I was reading a picture book, and the words were not highlighted, but they're on their radar. So they get really excited when they hear me use it, and they're thinking about, oh, no, that's one of our words. They get super excited when these words are in their independent books, and they will inevitably come over and they'll show me. So what I love about it is that it's putting these words on their radar. It's exposing them to the words. We practice using them. And I also like to have them practice using it in the writing. They really get excited about using it. Also, I try to end our day during closing circle by having them use it in their speaking. So one of our words today was figured. So during closing circle time at the end of the day, I asked them, tell me something new that you figured out today. And then we went around the class and all the kids were saying, oh, well, I figured out. So we try to practice incorporating it into speaking, into writing, into reading. And it's just a great way to, expand their knowledge, expand their vocabulary. It's just a really nice part of our daily routine. And I have to say it lends itself to, they're just really, really great engaging texts that the kids are really into. Oh, and I will add that another thing I love, I didn't invent these routines. These routines are in our HMH resources, and our HMH coach was great about highlighting the daily routines, but I also love that then there are, you can expand the routines and, the sorts of things that I do at the end of the day to incorporate more use of the vocabulary words are just a really great and easy thing to do that, it doesn't take a lot of time. You can just check the resources and there's so much available to us.
Hi, my name is Linda Dragata. I teach third grade at Royal School, and I am going to talk to you guys a bit about writing and reading comprehension. I was really thinking about what is it that's something that you all would like to see? And I thought what was really great and what is great about this HMH resource that we use is the fact that each grade builds upon each other. So the teaching that was done in kindergarten then relays to first, then second, then third. And these third graders that are going to be learning something in kindergarten, they're going to be using in third grade. And I just thought something you might like to see, even though I know it's hard to see on the screen, is sort of a progression on how first grade goes to second to third. So in the program, there is a module theme of friendship. So I'm not sure what kindergarten does, but I did find first and second. And when it comes to friendship, first grade does an informational how-to. So how do you be a friend? How could you be, what's the best way to be a friend? So it's like a step-by-step instruction. And it's interesting because if you notice, they put those transitional words like first, next, and that's something that really is important for a third grader to know what to do. And then second grade, they did a personal essay on what makes them unique. So then that turned into third grade where they did a persuasive essay, a persuasive letter, persuading someone to be their friend and what qualities they have. So when you think of it, okay, so first grade was teaching you how to be a friend. So you could put that in your letter because that's important. If you know how to be a friend, that's persuasive. And then in second grade, they talked about, hey, what makes them unique? What's character traits that really work well with me, that I am, that can be put into my third grade letter. And hence you see the third grade letter has an introduction. It has those transitional phrases, and then it backs it up with an example, and then it has a conclusion. So just seeing and hearing you guys has been really, really great, just because it's just so important that you all know that everything gets built upon each other. Like it spiraled within the grade, but I've got to tell you, these things that they're learning in the younger grades, when they get to third grade, it's going to be so much easier because our second grade at Royal didn't pilot it last year. So they have it this year. So it'll be very interesting seeing it in third grade.
And they had it in first grade.
And they had it in first grade.
Yeah, so.
Very cool. So then this leads me to what we've done in the classroom. So our HMH coach came and just recently, and we had such an amazing experience with her because we just started a research unit. They are researching animals and their special abilities. And at first we had an idea of what we wanted, but then once we started talking to her, we realized the big thing is that students aren't sure how to take notes, true notes, right? It's so easy. And I used to do this all the time when I was in elementary school. I would love researching an animal, but I would copy. Like I would copy words from a book, put it into some kind of notes, and then try to use my own words. It was just really tough. And I had an extra step that wasn't necessary. So what happened was we decided that she would co-teach with another third grade teacher. So they went into the classroom, they co-taught together, and watching how they used a mentor text that HMH gives you, and they highlight just the key words that'll help them remember what they learned. And then they take that and then they put the mentor text away, and then they're able to tell you what they learned without looking back. And that's so powerful because then they're truly learning it. So then I was lucky enough because this third grade teacher was a little ahead of me. So then I had them create this graphic organizer that, again, the HMH coach recommended. So they made their own, and you see it with the gazelles because that's the same student. And I had them do this activity, and they were focusing on, again, it's really animal adaptations, but they were focusing on the physical body parts. And this particular student at first wrote word for word something that the book said. So then the next day I talked to the class and I reminded them, remember, we're not necessarily taking word for word. We want to make these research essays our own. So it's really important to just take the keywords. So then he volunteered and said, you know what, can I try again? And I said, sure. So the video that I have is me talking to him. I would love to fast forward it to 1 minute and 41 seconds if you can, just because I know oh, there I am. Okay. So just so you know, another third grader is videoing it. So it's like, you'll see. Yes. So we talked about his, here you go.
What do you think is easier for writing, like when you're gonna write in your own words, which one is easier? I think this one's a little bit easier. Right. Cause it's not like I'm like, cause I kind of like just copy this off and I'm like, I don't wanna have like, you know, like my own like story, not like copying it, just copying like that, right? So it's like, I can know the writer, if you write over and only word interface, like, we use it like my own words, right? This is your piece now. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know if you caught that at all, but basically what was really cool and powerful with what he said was the fact that this one's not good, this one's in my own words, and I want to make something my own. And for a student to say that to me is a huge deal. And side note, he's a hockey, he loves his hockey kid, right? So he and his two friends are like, you know what, we'd like to do another research report. We want to go do research on the 1980 Olympics hockey team. And then I said, oh, great, can you compare it to the 2026? You know, I'm like trying to bring that to them. They're like, maybe, but we really want to do the 1980 hockey team. But just for the excitement for that really made me so incredibly happy. And the last thing for writing anyway that I wanted to talk about is during the HMH session, our special ed teacher was there and she is amazing. And as she was listening, she said to me, you know what, Linda, do you agree that maybe making their own organizer isn't the best idea for some of our students? And I'm like, 100%. So she created a digital tool where they can actually do voice memos or they can talk into, as they're doing their notes, they can talk into it and it'll go into the graphic organizer rather than them creating these spaces that, you know, maybe they can't write what they want to write because they write big or whatever. And for her to think that way, like, it's so important that we work together with special ed because it makes everyone's life so much better. And I am so grateful for the special ed team we have at Royal. So I just wanted to say that in regards to the writing. And I have one more thing to talk to you guys about after this. I know you can't see this that well either, but what I did was I was looking through, because I again wanted to bring home the fact that everything starts, I feel like, with the younger grades, right? And you may not realize this, but like first, second, and third grade, we teach author's purpose, right? That's a big deal. So in third grade, they know what author's purpose means. In the past, that wasn't necessarily the case. And if you look through like all of these things, main and central idea, right? You brought that up. For third graders to already know what that means coming in, that is essential and it's so helpful for these kids so they don't look at the teachers like, I don't know what you mean by that. I'm confused. And they might still be confused, but at least they've had exposure to it. That's all we're asking for. And on this list, you'll see so many strategies and skills are introduced in grade 1, and then it goes to grade 2. And then here you go with third grade. There's a couple that third grade introduces, but they're ready for that because of everything else they learned earlier. You know, reading comprehension is so incredibly important, and HMH does have so many resources that we can use. And by this program being a spiral program, not just in our grade, but all the way through kindergarten, I just think is amazing. And I can't wait to see what happens once everyone's had the time to see that.
So it's a really, I can't thank you enough, and I'm sure I speak for the rest of cabinet and Dr. Falcone. I learned so much listening to all of you, and The ideas that you brought forward tonight around just the science of reading, foundational skills, instructional strategies, professional learning, collaboration with our colleagues in special education. We're just very grateful, and especially it's a long day for you. You started early with our kiddos, and we all saw recently in the board learning walks just the stamina that you bring every day to your teaching to meet the needs of all of your kids. So we just can't thank you enough for that, for all of your sharing.
Can I just add one thing to that, if this works? Thank you. I just remember, and I'm sure the board members of the board remember, we spoke about resources that HMH had and what it did. And at the beginning, what you really showed tonight is not only the spiral and the wonderful opportunity K1, 2, 3 and what happens. And Linda, thank you for acknowledging the collaboration that we spoke about. Those resources really were able to go into small groups, individualize, look at and assess where children are. But you also gave meaning to one of the questions that came up when you were first presenting in the study, which was, is this going to take away teacher talent? Is this going to take away teacher individuality and how teachers present information? And you've shown here tonight how it totally supports that. How each of you found your own pathways on how to really bring into reading to life. And you're showing the stories you tell. So on a note, thank you for making sure that everyone gets to see what teachers bring to resources that are given to them. Thank you.
So just a couple slides to wrap us up. We are at this point in the year, we just did an implementation survey from our teachers. And so we'll be looking at that. You can see the different areas that we're investigating, and we'll analyze the results of the survey to kind of focus the rest of our year, figure out what we need to shore up and to give us a focus for next year as well. Last slide here, just looking ahead to 26, 27. We have a lot of work, really deepening implementation for our K-3 teachers for HMH intervening and linking and focusing on our high quality instruction framework, taking the feedback to kind of find our coaching priorities for next year, continue our work with small group instruction and foundational skill refinement. We'll continue our work that's connected to the science of reading. And again, I think I said earlier that we will really focus a lot on assessment literacy. Trying to figure out, we do assessing a lot, and it's only valuable if we're using that data to focus instruction perspectives. So really focusing on that next year and building a coherent K-3 literacy system so that all of our learners can be confident readers and writers and thinkers. All right, that's it.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. It's really clear that you're all truly masters of your craft and incredible at what you do. So we thank you for the presentation, and you're clearly also very passionate about what you do, which shows really well. I think we all know that you're not professional presenters in a board setting like this, but I think you all did great. Provide a ton of helpful insight into this process of integrating this new into reading program into the school system. Ms. McNamee, I know you said I'm a note taker too, but I don't think you looked at your notes one time during the presentation. With respect to the boardwalk, I would make one comment. I was in Ms. Johnson's class, and it was really eye-opening for me. I don't know if our feedback made its way back to the teachers for that, but one point of feedback that I had was I felt like a dinosaur as it relates to technology. I normally do, but in the classroom, it was like the movement and it was so seamless, frictionless with the kids. And I don't know how you were moving so quickly, but it was really impressive. So that I think if there's a way for us, I don't know how we can do it without creating more invasiveness into the classroom, which we don't want to be disruptive, but there's a way we can get that messaging somehow out more broadly to other parents. Like me as a parent with a kid in that school, I was like, this is incredible. Like what these teachers are doing on a day-to-day basis it was mind blowing. I haven't been in a classroom like that for a long period of time in decades. And I don't think most parents in the community have. And so when you see it for real, it can change your perspective quite a bit. That's all I have. I'll go around the horn and see if there's other questions or thoughts for the group. Joanna?
I had a question about small group instruction because, I always wonder what the other kids are doing. And I know you said that there's literacy centers, but what does that look like? Is they doing that work on, like independent reading, they're reading a book, but are they doing stuff on a Chromebook? Do they have, or whiteboards in their cups? Like, what does that look like?
Great question. It really just depends on the activity. So sometimes it could be a whiteboard, sometimes it could be a game that one of my colleagues created to help with recognizing those high frequency words with automaticity. It could be oftentimes, for me, it's not necessarily a worksheet, but it could be an authentic piece that they're creating. So writing sentences, using those vocabulary words in a sentence, or those high frequency words in a sentence. So those are the kinds of things that they're doing on their games, you know, all those kinds of very hands-on, you know, interactive work. And sometimes there's conversation, that collaboration. When the HMH coach was in, one of the things she said, well, as an old school teacher, you know, they get like overstimulated by the noise in my classroom. But she's like, no, the noise means they're learning, it's good. It's good that there's all this noise in here. So it could also be that way as well, but yes.
And I think it also depends on the grade, like in second grade, it's all able to, but I'll be working with one group at my table, and the other kids can read independently. They, you know, because they just have, their stamina's greater, and, you know, they need less hands-on direction, so it depends on the grade.
And at the beginning here, we do practice a lot. So it takes a lot to get to this point in the school year where we are really are independent. So you want to, like, I don't know, for every child, teams, yes, and a specific activity. So you're gonna spend some time on that activity, and then you're just changing the words, or you're changing a few things here so that they know when they get that activity, it's something that they've already done. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Others? Bill?
As a follow-up to that, is when the students that are not with you or in those small groups is that independent with just the students, or is there a teacher's aide with them?
So I do have special ed children in my classroom, so there is a para supporting. And one of the things that, you know, in my room that you would know when you come in who that special ed child is, because she is going to be bebopping around to other groups as needed. I will say, I have a colleague who, what she does is she puts one student as the team leader of their centers. And that student's job is to keep everybody on task. And that student feels super important, you know, that they're the taskmaster.
So now you're getting to the meat of what I was trying to ask you. Okay.
Yes.
Because you, as you mentioned, that the din in the classroom can be overwhelming for you.
Yeah.
So a little bit of chaos, but it's actually part of the program.
Yeah, it's controlled chaos.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, that's what.
Organized
That's
chaos.
probably louder to you than it truly
To them.
is. 'Cause you're probably-
Yes, because it holds.
Well, and so I wouldn't say that, but you have experience and you seem to have bought into the whole program and you're a fan of it. Would that be a correct
That is correct.
phrasing?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I think this program offers exactly what every student in your classroom needs. And, you know, to Lynn's point before, working with our special ed team, we can find those resources. One of the things I think I said last year when I was at a board meeting is what I love too, is that every kid in your room has the same book that they're reading from the lesson. And so then you're not having kids with different books as you're teaching that lesson. And last year I had a little one with some learning disabilities, and she was so excited that she had the same book with the person next to her. It's just, you know, that's really one of the things I love about this program.
Yeah, on the learning walk, to echo Greg's point, having the page of the book projected on the whiteboard, that was very impressive to see. And then the children could they could make sure they were on the same page. And then you don't have to walk around and correct so many
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's great with those stories, especially in third grade, you can pull a small group and not have to find another resource because they've already read this story. So you can use that in a lot of different ways. So I think that's super helpful as well.
And as you mentioned, I just had a curious question, how you introduce spelling. And so I have a fourth grader at Hindley. And spelling tests have kind of gone by the wayside. Is that?
Spelling tests, we know what we do is in.
They, yeah, but so it's not like it used to be where the kid would come
You get a
home
list of.
Yes.
and have a giant list and we'd have to go through that. Because my older ones, I remember that distinctly.
You practice spelling patterns.
Right.
Okay.
I actually, I have to
He's
do
actually a
it.
pretty good speller and I'm surprised. I'm like, well, I don't remember, beating it into your head.
And that's an important point.
Yeah.
It's a pattern work itself, so they apply it across lots of.
I do it with my third grader. She has a list, the teacher has it at the bottom, and she's like, can you say all these words and I'll write them down? And I say them and she writes them down, and then she does, there's like some other exercises she does, but it's sort of like a spelling test for her.
I think
Thank you.
Robin and
Thank you.
Sarah.
Think John had.
That's,
Just I'll do John and then Robin and Sarah, if you have stuff, I'll go. Good, you guys.
this was an absolutely fantastic presentation, so thank you to all. And it's kind of as a parent, you hear some of these kind of pinpoints here, with a focus on handwriting, earlier learning of key topics, reinforcing learned topics at home, emphasis on grammar, vocabulary, emphasis on writing progressions, music to parents' ears. I think when we first heard about this and kind of the time of kids not being in school to do this training, a lot of parents are kind of grumbling about it, to put it lightly. So if there's any kind of way that we can get this type of presentation out, or these messages.
Oh, yeah, I'll be sending it out on Friday, so you're gonna go out to everybody. It will be in my community update this Friday. Sorry, we didn't tell you that in advance.
Community stores for the week.
But no, like the message, like,
Yeah.
it's clearly worth it.
We'll be pushing it out on Friday, yeah.
Robin, Sarah, it looked like you might have had something.
Yeah, I'll just jump in and say, I don't need to repeat a lot of what's been said, but to me, the excitement is palpable on all sides of the teachers, the children, doing that learning walk. And this is, I wrote an email to the people, to Stacy and everybody else who I saw when we were doing the learning walk. It was the best hour and a half of my 5.5 years as a board member. Just seeing what we, what is being done in the classroom with our students, and I think it was Greg that said, like, you are masters of your craft, and to be able to see that in action was incredible. And I wish everybody had a window into the classroom like that, because it is what is being done in our classrooms in Darien is spectacular. So thank you.
Robin.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what everyone said. I'm very, very excited about this, and thank you all so much for helping bring this to life for us. And the board learning walks were fantastic too, just to see how the kids were interacting and excited about this. And it wasn't just a lesson and sitting reading a lesson. It was incredibly real and interactive, and I think really fun for them too, which I thought was great, because that's how they internalize the learning. And I'm so excited about the grammar and the vocabulary and the spelling and everything. So this is fantastic. The question I have has more to do with, because you're referencing the review team for the 4th and 5th grade. What are we thinking about that? Because I just seeing what's happening with K through 3 and how it's helping the transitions in the learning from grade to grade. I'm just really interested in, and I know this is really early, but are there thoughts about how we can use something like this resource and help supplement what some of the great things that I know we probably already are doing in 4th and 5th grade? I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit if you can.
Sure.
Or that's Dr. Fettigan, maybe.
Thanks so much, Mrs. Nelson, and Mrs. Philpott. If you can just throw up that graphic that is in the appendix that has the architecture of the groups that are working on this. From the very beginning of our work in K-3 literacy, we were really clear that this is a preschool through grade 12 effort and lift in the district. And so the question really is what's happening with 4 or 5, but also what's happening in the middle school and in the high school. We've talked a lot about smoothing out those transitions. So,
Which one?
the next one, I think it is, next, there you go. So this is really, we're gonna keep this going in districts so that there's a systemic leadership team that's watching the work as it's evolving at each of those grade level bands. And the PK-12 steering committee has representation, including folks from special education, student support services, speech language pathologists, which are incredibly important when it comes to children's development and literacy. And on the right-hand side, that 3-6 core review team, that's the group that's going to continue to shift as we evolve as a school system, as we're developing our whole framework for literacy instruction from a preschool through grade 12 perspective. So the work of that 3-6 core review team right now is really exactly, it's mirroring what the K-3 team did when they were doing a district study and then looking at resources and piloting. Of course, we know the legislation was only K-3, but as a school system, we want to make sure that our kids have a continuous experience that's supported. Linda was just talking about how we see kids grow and learn, and with this program, how their skills are evolving year over year. And we want to make sure that's a connected experience for them. And we know that we've talked about at the board table, there are some areas in literacy instruction that we knew we wanted to improve upon and pay more attention to. So it's important to go back in time and say, what have we done with K-3? How is that working? And use that information as we move forward. This team now will take a look at the 3-6 team, the instructional framework that was developed in K-3, and they're looking at doing an iteration that's appropriate developmentally for grades 3 through 6. We're involving 6th grade because we don't want to have a huge drop off in grade 5. We want to make sure that we're smoothing out that transition. And then once we've studied actually what we have in district, which is happening now, we'll continue to look at resources that would be the most appropriate. So the board can expect a very similar process with teacher involvement and voice and board discussion around what we're finding and if we would recommend any different types of resources or need anything from a budgetary perspective. But it will be a very connected, visible, transparent, connected sequence of our learning in district and our commitment to growing our program.
Thank you.
Other board questions? Dennis?
Yeah, just a great thank you for doing this. And, you know, I think we've talked about, you know, this is so important for setting the tone of your school, your education going forward. If you don't get this right in K through 3, you know, it becomes, you know, to use the hockey analogy, if you can't skate and handle a puck, it doesn't matter how much you love hockey, you're not going to be a really good hockey player. So you have to learn to do this. And so I think it's great. And I also love the part of the fact of taking notes and being able to make notes, because I don't think I learned until I was in my 40s how to take notes properly. And I probably still don't. I was just write everything down. Someone says it, I write it down and I'm like, oh, what did they say about it? And so it's really hard. So to learn that in 3rd grade is a great foundation going forward. So thank you. But I do have one question.
Go ahead.
So as a board member, I mean, what can we do to help bring this forward? Do we, you know, how do we get it to another level if there is such a thing?
I think exactly what we're doing now, engaging in these conversations. When we say we need something, you help us figure out how to make that happen, as you've done. If there are resources we need, we're going to bring it forth in the budget process, as we've done this year. Taking the time, if you're able to join us on these learning walks and really knowing what's happening at a level that a board member can, and sharing that with the community. That would be incredibly helpful.
Others? Anything else? Thank you all again. Really appreciate it. Great job.
So before our group heads out, I want to thank you very much. I do want to recognize that one of our panelists this evening is retiring at the end of the school year. And I just wanted to say a few words about Ann Novotnik, who will be departing after 30 years. Ann came to Darien as a 2nd grade teacher in 1996 and has taught at Holmes in both 2nd grade and kindergarten for the past 30 years. In addition to her classroom expertise, she's mentored numerous new teachers, served as a grade level leader for many years, and has been an invaluable addition to many of our curriculum initiatives. She also spends countless hours each year assisting the Holmes administration in creating a schedule that supports both our students and our teachers. And supervisors say that she's always willing to assist with any task or accept any additional responsibility. She's a skilled educator and a consummate professional. Anne, thank you for your 30 years of service to the Darien community.
It's gonna be very hard.
And I'm sure that you don't, I mean, you can stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like. We're about to talk about policy, which is really a lot of fun. But we do understand that you've got classes early tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, Marge, we are on to the good stuff. First reading and discussion on proposed Board of Ed policies 6840, 5130, 5020, 6930, and 4400. Take it away.
So most of these are pretty straightforward. I don't know whether you want me to take you through each one individually or if there are questions. No, I know the answer to that. I mean, I guess I'll ask the meatiest of them are the graduation requirements. And if there are any questions about that, I think we'd be happy to entertain those.
Any questions?
Sorry. The only other thing I'll say is that in response to Mr. Maroney's question at the policy committee, I did look at the statute for policy 5020, child abuse. And the statute does require that we provide community resources. Remember, you asked why we included those, and the statute requires it.
Yeah.
Any questions from the group? I can't see.
Just a point,
Oh,
the
go ahead,
policy
Nelson.
committee recommended all these to be approved.
And this is just a first reading, so we're not voting on these today. I can't, John, go
I have a
ahead.
question on social media. In terms of school administered accounts, there's no mention in here, I don't think, of anything about tracking for FOIA requests, right? If there's a school account, how do we record what's being put on the accounts and if there's messaging via these social media accounts and all of that?
So we don't, that wouldn't be a record that we would be required to, I think it's called a transitory record, so we wouldn't be required to keep track of that for FOIA.
Even if there's a written communication on that.
If there's a written communication on like Facebook,
Correct, like a Facebook message or Instagram direct message.
right? I mean, we don't maintain those records unless, I can ask.
Yeah,
what we do,
I mean,
but-
we do have the district Instagram account, but that's
Right.
the only social media account we have. And there's no commenting on that from either
Right,
direction.
so I think that under FOIA, we wouldn't be required. But I will confirm that.
Thank you.
I can't see Robin and Sarah. I don't know if they've,
I'm okay. I'm good.
you guys good?
Thank you.
Okay. Great. So we'll go on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of the minutes, the January 2026 financial report and proposed budget transfers, the board master agenda for February through August of this year, the 2026 high school graduation date, the committee reports and personnel report. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Joanna, it's a second. Dennis, I have just two items that I'd like to just cover and then I'll go around. I think we discuss first. Yeah, so we discuss first.
Yeah,
So
discuss first, then vote.
then we vote. Yeah. Rich, would you mind just taking us through the proposed budget transfers? I know that they're large this month. That would be helpful.
So there's 4 transfers. The first is for $450,000 for the DEA early retirement incentive. We are taking funds from savings and out of district tuition, turnover savings, benefits and census changes, as well as some savings in salary schedules. $5,000 for a Board of Ed facilitator at the Board of Ed retreat, and that's coming from salary savings as well. electric cost of $132,119. And we're recommending taking that from some savings from the new salary schedule and salary savings. And then heat due to the colder winter than expected of $20,400. And that is coming from salary savings, some turnover savings, and some premium credits that we got for workers' compensation and student accident insurance.
Great. And the early retirement savings piece, that's consistent with what we had discussed during the budget process. Thank you. Any questions on that from anyone else?
For just.
Just the budget. And then my other one was, Eric, if you wouldn't mind, just on the graduation.
Sure. So
graduation date.
there's a memo included, after working with building administration. My recommendation is, setting our graduation date for June 17th with a rain date of June 18th. That would, the middle school promotional would be on the 16th. So high school 17, rain date 18.
Great. Thank you. Open it up. Bill, sound like you might have something else.
No, I like that because I've heard that some parents have issues with plans and to delay it further than that. So thank you for that.
Sure.
This one, I don't know if this is out of turn, Greg, but one of the policies, 6930, this is a really minor point, but.
So why don't we finish going to the consent and then we can go back to that, just because we're in discussions and then we'll do the vote and then we can go back. That's okay. Other questions on the consent agenda? I can't see people on the screen.
So it's Sarah. So I just have a question about the middle school. So if the 8th graders are finished on the 16th, are we truly expecting them to go to school Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
I think we are. I think we expect that they will.
Okay.
That's been the discussion. So, and apparently this is a common.
It is, yes, but I just want to throw it out there.
Anything else? Okay. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda?
I'm in favor. It's Robin.
I am
Sarah?
too. Yeah.
Okay,
thank
we've
you.
got unanimous approval. Thank you.
Is Katie still there? She is still there.
I am, thank you.
Oh, Katie, were you good with that as well?
Yes.
Okay, so we're good. Bill, did you have a question to go backwards?
I apologize. The policy is 6930. It's parental access to instructional material.
Yep.
Objectives and scope and sequence of approved curriculum will be posted to the website. That's fine. But 2 paragraphs down, I caught this in the subcommittee. It's a parents' request to inspect instructional material and curriculum is not posted to the website. At least this is how I read it. And the district shall grant reasonable access to instructional material and curriculum within a reasonable period of time after request is received from a parent or guardian. And so I have a push-pull question. Why don't we just push that out instead of making a parent request it? Why don't we just post it on the website anyway?
I'm not posting all of the materials for all of the lessons. We have the units of studies, the resources, the maps will be on the website and available, but you could have a book that's being used in one classroom in a 2nd grade class that it would be quite a challenge to post all of those materials.
Okay.
But the maps themselves with what we're doing will be up there.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That explains it.
Okay, sounds good. The only follow-up item that I had written down is the FOIA question that John asked that Marge is going to look into. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Good
Public comment?
evening. If anybody in person would like to participate in public comment, please approach the podium, state your name and town of residence, and note that you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
But it's okay.
Sorry.
It'll be there.
Sorry.
All good. Okay, motion to adjourn. David, seconded by Dennis. All those in favor?